of the video on spiritual strength. So what I think I'm going to do is get back to this idea of the physical kind of experience of spirituality, because that's ultimately the source of real spiritual strength. And this idea that we can just somehow download the spiritual experience through a mental exercise, which is very rare. It's like, again, getting back to the idea of professional football. It's like, okay, we're just gonna have you read this manual on how to go out and play football, and if you read it for enough if you read it over and over for years at a time, then wow, you'll be able to go play. And of course that won't work. But at the same time, that person that reads all those football manuals and stuff, man, if you talk to them, they'll sound like an expert. They'll be able to tell you all the plays, all the positions. They're like, man, this guy has a lot of experience. Yeah. But when he goes out on the field, just nothing. A very limited experience. So, but it's strange that we think that, in order to be a professional football player, you got to go through all this conditioning and you got to really work hard and intensely, physically, mentally, emotionally, and a lot of times even spiritually. And this is just to win a football game. But then we think, well, no, to realize God, to realize the ultimate, to liberate yourself eternally from this Maya and delusion, well, we'll just read a book or watch a couple videos or whatever. Go to yoga on Sundays, and that'll be the end of it. And it's kind of similar in how, in football, there's not a lot of people that actually have an amount of desire to go that far, to be on the professional level. And it's the same thing with enlightenment. It's not a hierarchy necessarily, but there's not a lot of people that want it. That's the only barrier. And so spiritual strength means that you really want it. You really want the ultimate experience. I mean, come on. It's not, there's nothing keeping you from it. I mean, there's enlightened masters, there's avatars coming down, that are, somewhat easily available on this planet. Go to them. And spiritual strength means that when you do have that inspiration and you go see a master, that's your whole focus is literally, your cells are just screaming, I want this, I want this. I want to be liberated, just destroy this veil of ignorance forever. And you're like, well, that's extreme, that's, why does it have to be so intense? Can't we just, put on some Enya and merge into the ultimate and be done with this? Come on. And that's fine. Again, all these practices, that bring you into the present moment, that's great. There's tremendous health benefits, tremendous, mental and spiritual benefits as well. But, if you really want to cut through this delusion, if you really want to experience, super conscious states of awareness, it takes a certain degree of strength and intensity. And focus. And again, we think that, well, yeah, it takes all that to win, in the NFL. But if we want to, realize God, then we don't need any of that. And I'm not trying to. Obviously, this comparison is a little bit limited. It's not the same thing. We're not winning over God. like we're winning a football game, but we're there is some sense of, again, a preparation even to receive this grace. Yeah, we're not winning the grace, but to hold it and to express. It takes a certain degree of physical, mental and spiritual preparation. And that's why, again, in the helicopter of enlightenment that you're sending down this ladder, you have to have all the steps there. So the science, right, of creating a biomemory that's filled with enlightenment, where your every cell is just this some sense aware or full of this bliss. It's like the supreme knowledge, just filled. And you can say, well, how do I do that, right? So that's the thing, and you have to find out. You have to. I can't explain that in 30 minutes, right? All I can do is give you a little inspiration. I can't explain how to be a professional football player in half an hour. So, it takes time, right? But what I can say is that having a core, right, a core attitude of spiritual strength, Swami Vivekananda, right? He said he had this idea that whatever gives strength to you, well, that's spiritual, that's God. Take it, experience it, express it. And he said, whatever brings weakness, get rid of it. You could call it sin. That's kind of an ugly word, but whatever it is, it's causing the weakness. Don't go near it. And again, in this kind of a backward culture, we have spiritualities. It's all this weak and fragile kind of ideas, No, it's a strength, inside that allows you to go all the way through. And that's the thing, we have this kind of idea that in this moral relativity, right? That well, it's not a matter of good or evil, it's just a matter of beliefs. Right, my belief versus your belief. And I would agree with that to a certain extent. But actually, that's not it. Because you have to have some kind of ground, and if you have this understanding of spiritual strength, right, is the kind of barometer, the gauge in which you can measure what's practical, what will be beneficial in your spiritual process, and not just spiritual, but your whole functioning of life. Then we can look beyond this kind of moral relativism, and because that moral relativism doesn't really work if somebody's, for example, feeding you poison, right? Putting poison in your food, and you say, well, that's just a different belief, and they just haven't got on to my belief yet. That's not a belief. Or they're giving you poison, and you're just gonna say, well, it's just a different belief. So that's why, you know, spiritual strength is such a profound idea. It's because it can really help clear away a lot of our confusion about what is, you know, useful in our lives. And so, and again, even in this kind of sense of devotion, you know, like I don't need, you know, I don't know about all that spiritual strength. I'm just kind of going with the flow, and I'm, you know, letting go of everything. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong, you know, with that kind of attitude. That's fine, but ultimately, what are you gonna do? You're gonna go to God or the guru and say, look, I'm really weak, and I'm really devoted to you, though, but just do everything for me, right? Just, you know, give me this, give me that, give me. And, you know, what kind of service are you going to be to the divine, you know, if you're weak? I mean, so rather than that, you know, you go to the divine God or guru or existence and say, look, you know, I'm doing everything I can to realize the supreme. Now, I'm not saying that I can do it on my own, or it's not even that it's enough. But I'm saying I'm trying everything here, and you know, I have this inner confidence, right, in myself. I have this faith in myself. And then, you know, please lead me to the ultimate. You know, with that, because if you don't have faith or trust in yourself, how do you expect God to have faith or trust in you? And in order to have faith and trust in yourself, you have to be strong. It's simple. Or else every moment, every time you feel like you're didn't live up to something, or you start doubting yourself. You know, you'll be in a cycle of doubt, and you know, it's a sign of weakness. You're constantly doubting, and that, you know, that doubt just gets this kind of negative cycle, and then you're doubting existence. You know, this whole planet's fucked up, and this whole, you know, existence is just wrong, and then you start doubting God, right? And you say, why is God doing all this? This is ridiculous, and you know, and you know, it leads to, you know, very, very bad places, and that's all kind of a result from an attitude of spiritual weakness. But again, with the spiritual strength, you know, even, you know, when the whole world is against you, and you say, all right, no problem, I can face it. And again, it's not like this I, the self, because people, well, no, you know, because we have this strange notion of ego, right? And it's like, well, spiritual means that you feel shitty about yourself, right? And that means you have no ego if you're just, oh, poor me, you know, like, no, that's a false ego. That's the most dangerous kind of ego there is. And right, even talking about it, you know, like going and judging other people, oh, well, because they're, you know, expressing this and that must mean they have ego or something, right? These kinds of judgments about ego, it just means that you have an ego in yourself, and you see it in somebody else. Well, they're acting with ego, rather than saying, no, this is the divine is expressing through all beings And certainly there's ignorance and limitation and conditioning, and that needs to be dealt with, you know, very strongly and intelligently. But just to go trying to look outside and label people, right, for this ego idea, that's not a spiritual practice. Now, if you want to look in yourself and say, wow, yeah, this is where I have these issues, or this is the conflict, or this is what is apparently separating me from the divine source, then yeah, you can use that if you want as a tool to analyze yourself. And that's another aspect of spiritual strength, is that you become your own authority, right?